This is Friday, July 12th. There are 12 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2024. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE go. Oh my God, I love Live Journal and my Live Journal loves me. Current movies, hyperactive, current music, Refuge 73. I love the color scheme in pink and purple.
Good evening, everybody. I'm your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Also joining us from the unofficial blog tonight, Andy Wagner.
It's the 12 days of Comic-Con.
And Johnny Dew.
Hello. What a week.
Yeah. Ooh, all right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is the part one of the two-part Breaking Down the Schedule podcast, which is all we do is talk about the schedule. Today will be Thursday and Friday, and then on Sunday will be Saturday and Sunday. We'll take your comments and questions during the show. You can tweet us at SD_comic_con or use the hashtag SDConCast. We will also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you wish to comment there. So is there anything we need to cover before we just dive right into some rooms, Carrie?
I think the only thing that I would say is that we will have one last normal podcast on Tuesday of next week at 6:30, and on that one we will cover the actual news, and there's a lot of it. So
yes, we'll be going over like some FAQ stuff, news, exclusives, offsites, all the stuff that breaks before basically 8 days before the convention, essentially. And then everything else from then on will be on the blog, on Twitter, and going forward from there.
Yep.
All right. So he's never done one before, so he gave him the first room. And so how we do this is we start with Thursday. We start with the smallest room we're going to cover, which in this case is room 7AB, which holds 480 people. We're going to go through what's in the room. We're going to go through what we feel is the room flow for the day after we're done talking about what's in the room, what we think may be the big panel or panels of the day, and maybe where you can kind of fit yourself in if there's things you're looking to go to. So, Johnny, kick it off.
I gave myself the film, so good luck to me. So we're kicking it off at 10 a.m. with Pocket Full of Robots, Droid Building 101. So it's 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hear an interactive presentation on building your favorite droids from the Star Wars universe, utilizing various construction methods and materials. From part runs to 3D printing, the world of droid building has never been more accessible to beginning makers. And this is presented by the San Diego Droid Builders, and it looks like they'll have about 7 of them there to host that panel. Next up, at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., we have the 5th annual Hollywood Game Changers, a conversation with the women behind popular film and TV projects. You can hear stories about making your mark in the industry, all while blazing a trail for the next generation of creators and CEOs, with executive producer Ashley Hairston, co-founder of Not Your Daddy's Films, Carly Tamarin, composer Joy Ngaw, Kalina Silverman, and re-recording mixer Kate Fine up Box Post. And that's part 1 of Impact 24 PR's panel Super Bowl. Part 2 comes right after, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. It's called From Script to Screen, behind the camera of storytelling across diverse mediums. Step into the world of your favorite films and TV shows with the industry professionals who brought them to life. Go behind the scenes and gain insight into how every element comes together to create an unforgettable on-screen experience. So there you've got a panel full of costume designers, casting directors, and composers as well. That's part 2 of the Super Block. And part 3 of the Super Block is going to be fan favorites behind the scenes of popular films and TV shows. The creative minds behind the biggest projects will talk about how they bring your favorite pieces to life. And here you've got creatives from, say, One Piece, Only Murders in the Building, Gen V and the Boys, Shogun, The Black Lady Sketch Show, and Frog and Toad. That's part 3. The Super Block. That's the last part of that Super Block. At 2 p.m., 2 to 3 p.m., it's Fun with Tamagotchi. The Bandai team will guide fans through the world of Tamagotchi. They'll learn the various types of Tamagotchi, get tips on keeping your Tamagotchi healthy, and win prizes playing Tamagotchi trivia. So it's 2 to 3. 3 to 4 is going to be the future of graphic storytelling, Storyverse, and a whole new reading experience. Storyverse is a new vertical animated storytelling app bringing together talented writers, animators, and industry professionals across many genres and mediums to create a new form of entertainment. And frankly, the entire panel description is kind of PR speak and doesn't actually talk about what's going to be on the panel. And so we'll just move on to the next description. From 4 to 5 p.m. is the License Made Me Do It. So here you'll have a bunch of professionals in the board game industry share stories about working with intellectual property to make board games. Everything from needing to watch 150 episodes of a show to why certain characters were not included and to understanding target demographics. From 5 to 6, tabletop triumphs, benefits beyond the table. Here you have a mix of academics, creators, and players who will use research and professional experiences to inform a fun, in-depth discussion of the skills, knowledge, and broader benefits gained from tabletop RPGs. From 6 to 7 p.m., we have Hex Harmonics, calling all nerds and metalheads. Hex Harmonics is a lighthearted, fun, rebellious show that abides by the creed of metal and punk in the most wholesome way, but doesn't stop there. Voice actor Bill Crow will host a panel featuring an eclectic bunch of game designers, performers, and creatives. From 7 to 8 p.m., we have Homebrew, How Designers Play. Homebrew means different things to different people, but it's universal, molding something and making it your own. All panelists are designers, and from tech to tabletop RPGs, they will reveal their special brand of homebrew and that they use when playing with their friends. And then finally, to finish off the room, from 8 to 9 p.m. is a tribute to Trina Robbins. Trina Robbins, many a Comic-Con special guest and Inkpot recipient, passed away in April. And so this is a tribute to her old friends, Barbara Mendez, Roberta Gregory, Lee Mars, Heidi McDonald, and Casey Robbins, who's Trina's daughter, will share their memories, and stories from the audience are encouraged. So that is that for room 7AB.
So what do we think about the room flow here, James? Well, actually, first of all, how many does 7AB hold?
7AB holds 480.
Okay. Do we think any of these are going to fill up?
Tamagotchi?
I think I'm with you. I think if any of them do, it'll be Tamagotchi. So if you want to go to that, I mean, maybe just show up a little early. Again, I don't think you need to show up much, but like 15 minutes.
Yeah. And I mean, you have to pay attention to the ones that might have giveaways, in case someone be like, it's just going to every panel that they can that has a giveaway. Some people may be doing that, but normally, if they have a giveaway, if it's something big, then it's just going to get more people there. Smaller stuff doesn't tend to get a massive amount of people, doing that.
No. Yep. Okay, so on to room 6DE, and James, this is you.
Oh, this is me. All right. So room 6DE holds 884. It starts at 10:15 a.m. with Exploring the Moon, the Artemis generation. And this is NASA talking about NASA stuff, the Artemis mission that's coming up, and the Artemis 2 astronauts who will fly around the moon and back to Earth. So this is pretty cool, especially if it's, science and space. So that's really awesome. At 11:30 to 12:30, we have Minor Threats, a roundtable with Patton Oswalt and friends. And for those who don't know, Patton Oswalt and Jordan Bloom have created a comic called Minor Threats, and they are joined by Scott Hepburn, Kyle Starks, and Ryan Brown to discuss C-list villains and the hench people that populate their world and talk about their newest series, Barfly. 12:45 to 1:45, we have DC's Absolute Power panel, and this is talking about the current summer blockbuster crossover event at DC called Absolute Power. At 2 to 3, we have Spotlight on Jim Lee. And so Jim Lee, I think most people know who that is. He's the superstar artist and guy who's helping run DC Comics right now. And he will just sit down and talk and answer questions. And while he's doing it, he will sketch stuff on the screen for you to watch him work while he talks. At 3:15 to 4:15, we have a conversation with Ronald D. Moore. Ronald D. Moore is the guy who has helped showrun and write for shows like Star Trek Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Battlestar Galactica, Outlander, currently with For All Mankind and their upcoming spinoffs Blood of My Blood and Star City. And what was not in the Comic-Con schedule, but was on the press release, is that the moderator for this panel will be his co-star, or sorry, one of his stars in Battlestar. Mary McDonnell is going to be the host, which is awesome.
It's awesome.
At 4:30 to 5:30, we have Behind the Scenes with Mondo, and that features Mondo creatives Peter Santamaria, aka Attack Peter, Hector Arce, and Bob Fulkerson. And they will be joined by a surprise guest panelist who is also one of the industry's most prolific comic book artists. And they're going to talk about all things Mondo. From 5:45 to 6:45, we have the King of Tricksters, Fantasy Comes into Reality with Umro Ayar. And this features creatives from that, like who I'm going to try and get all these names right. Huma Jamil Babar, Farhan Tahir, Hamza Ali Abbasi, Osama Cum Laude. And this will basically be, now this is I looked it up, this is a Pakistani Urdu language science fiction fantasy action film that is based on the classic Persian fictional character Umro Ayar. And they're going to answer questions, talk about the film, and they will have something to give away as well. From 7 to 8, we have Bat in the Sun, Legend of the White Dragon. And this is the film that the late Jason David Frank starred in, and it is coming out later this year. And they're going to talk about the movie. The cast and crew will be there, and they're going to have something special to show. And then, finally, we have at 8:15 to 9:45, Fox Animation Domination, Universal Basic Guys in Crapopolis. This will be Universal Basic Guys as a new show coming to Comic-Con with a special screening in advance of the series premiere this fall. The co-creators and executive producers, Adam Malamut and Greg Malamut, will be there to talk about it. And then Dan Harmon will be there to talk about Crapopolis and what's going on with that. And they will, of course, screen some stuff while you are there. And that is it for the room. So what's the big one? I mean, I know what my big one is for this, why I would go to this room on this day, and that's Ronald D. Moore.
I think there's a couple big ones in this. I think Patton Oswalt's decently big. I think Jim Lee is definitely big, and I think Ronald D. Moore is also definitely big.
And all the DC Comics fans are going to be wanting to go to that Absolute Power panel. You know, I mean, this room is basically stacked in the middle, like for hours, and then it will kind of lower down a bit for a few hours, and then probably kick back up again for the Fox Animation Domination at the end. Yeah.
The good news is I think there will be turnover. Now, the 3 back-to-back comics panels, I think there might not be much. But after that, I do think that, like, it's not going to be the same people sitting in this room.
So if you want to see Jim Lee, when are you showing up? Because I think he's actually the biggest draw of the room.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I do too. I don't know. If it was me, like, I would probably get there, like, in minor threats, maybe even, like, 4 minor threats. Just because, again, I don't think a lot of people, like, in the DC's Absolute Power are going to be leaving.
Yeah, I would show up personally, just because I'm always a little paranoid. I would show up during the NASA panel, just to make sure. Now, remember, let's clarify here what we're talking about when we talk about showing up and getting to a panel. We mean getting in the room. We don't mean getting front row seat. We just mean, can I get into the room to see this panel wherever there may be a seat? And so I think if you show up during NASA or near the end of NASA, you should be able to get in, no problem, for Jim Lee.
Yeah.
Because there will be some turnover. The NASA panel will probably not have too many people stay. And each panel always has some people that come and go, because obviously there's so much to do at Comic-Con. There won't be 800 people that sit in that room all day. There may be 100 people that sit in that room for 4 hours, but not that many. So there will be some turnover. But if you want a conversation with Ronald D. Moore, do you think that you can show up during Jim Lee and get in? Do you think the room will clear enough?
I personally think it might.
I think it's
because
possible.
I think it's possible too, because I also think that, like, even though, yes, Battlestar Galactica is beloved, yes, like, a lot of his other shows are beloved, but does the average person know the name Ronald D. Moore? I don't know. We all do, but
So yeah, I think that if you show up during Gym Lee, like early in Gym Lee, just to be careful, that you should be able to get into the Ronald D. Moore. But again, this is always one of those situations where you need to pay attention to social media, see if people are talking about the room, see if there's anyone on the hashtag talking about 6DE in the area there. And then after that, after Ronald D. Moore, I think that the room will be come and go as you please. It may be a little full, but I think Mondo might get pretty full, but there'll be a lot of clear out in between. So if you want to go to the Bat in the Sun, just show up when that panel starts, and I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think they'll fill up for the animation domination, because looking at the names, you've got a lot of big names coming in, especially for Kerpopolis, that cover a lot of different fandoms. So you might have a crowd there.
The thing is, I don't think anyone except Dan Harmon is showing up.
Yeah, I agree.
So if Cass was showing up, I would say that would be packed. But I think Dan Harmon is the only one showing up.
So the way that you can tell on Sked most of the time for who is actually showing up is if it's bolded. If it's not bolded, or if it doesn't specifically say like panelists include these people, like that usually means like they're part of the show, but they're not necessarily on the panel.
They're trying to trick you.
Yeah.
No, they're not. But yeah, I think the animation domination is going to be crowded anyway, because I think there's going to be fans of both of those things. And it's only an 800-seat room, 900-seat room. So I think it's going to be fairly crowded anyway, even without a full cast of people.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to room 6A, which holds just over 1,000. Andy, do you want to kick us off?
All right. Yeah, room 6A holds 1,040. And we're going to start off at 10 a.m. This is kind of like the wrestling part of of Comic-Con 2024, because for whatever reason there's a lot of wrestling going on. So it's going to start with Ronda Rousey's comic debut with AWA. Going to be treated to an action-packed, candid conversation between UFC and WWE champion, former judoka and actress Ronda Rousey, and she'll be talking with actor, producer, and former WWE star Dave Bautista. You might remember him as Drax. So that'll be interesting, discussing Ronda's debut graphic novel, Expecting the Unexpected, and their journeys after stepping out of the ring. Eisner Award-winning artist Mike Diodato Jr. and AWA Chief Creative Officer Axel Alonso will also join in to celebrate the book's Kickstarter launch and the innovative creative process behind this powerful project. Next up, we're going to keep it going with the wrestling with Mattel's WWE Elite Squad panel. The Mattel WWE Elite Squad defends their title again as the action figure champions of the Comic-Con with all new WWE action figures, reveals, and WWE superstar guests, featuring the Mattel design team and WWE superstars. Then after that, they're going to switch gears a little bit. This is going to be the first panel with Malcolm Barrett. It's going to be called Malcolm and Friends. Actor, comedian Malcolm Barrett, Timeless, Average Joe, The Changeling, also The Boys, invites his nerdiest industry friends to discuss nerd culture and their unique entry into Hollywood. Panelists include Jesse T. Usher, who plays A-Train on The Boys, Claudia Dumit, who's also on The Boys, and she was in Timeless as well, Jay Washington, Danny Fernandez, and Fantastic Frankie and Cleo Thomas. After that, they're going to, from 1:45 to 2:45, we have Unveiling the VFX Magic, 20th Century Studios' Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This is going to be, I think, a really good panel. You get to delve into the technical and human aspects that created the visual effects masterpiece, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, with some of the best VFX talent in the business. They got the lead cast members, Freya Allen, Kevin Durand, Owen Teague, and Peter Macon, alongside Halon Entertainment visualization supervisor Casey Pike and FX visual supervisor Eric Winquist, and one of the film's editors, Dan Zimmerman. They will, as well as some very special surprise panelists, unveil the VFX magic behind the majestic beasts and battles. After that, from 3 to 4, it's What's New at Viz. Get ready for some big anime and manga announcements. Plus, David Brothers, Viz editor, joins Sven Larson for a Viz Marvel-themed Q&A. Then after that, Rem, illustrator of Devil's Candy, will do a live drawing in Q&A. So swing by for a chance to win swag, Johnny. We love our swag. After that, from 4:15 to 5:15, 85 Years of Batman. A look back with professionals Jessica Sang, Eisner Judge 2022, and international comics historian, Mark Waid, I believe, writer DC Comics, Michael Uslin, executive producer, Batman 1989, The Dark Knight Trilogy, Batman Part 2, The Joker, and all that stuff. Athena Finger, Bill Finger, co-creator of Batman Legacy Estate, and more, as they discuss being a significant part of Batman's history and dive into what has made the Dark Knight stand out among other superheroes for more than 8 decades, other than just saying, I'm Batman. All right. After that, from 5:30 to 6:30, there's Max Collins's True Noir. It fuses history with crime fiction to redefine serialized audio drama. You get to witness the next leap in the evolution of audio dramas when Imagination Connoisseurs Unlimited introduces their debut project, The Assassination of Anton Cermak, true noir based on Max Allan Collins' best-selling novel, True Detective. Set in 1932 Chicago, the 10-episode series explores the murder of the city's mayor during a political rally at the World's Fair. True Noir is the brainchild of longtime marketing executive Mike Bawden and industry veteran Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert Meyer Burnett will moderate the panel that features actors Anthony LaPaglia, Without a Trace, Happy Feet, All-Star Superman, and Why Does Nobody Ever Mention So I Married an Axe Murderer? Don McManus, Bill Smitrovich, Louis Lombard, and Chris Carr. And then after that, you've got from 6:45 to 7:45, Sci-Fi, Space, and the Universe. Award-winning creatives, actors, and experts discuss some of their favorite sci-fi series and films, including the latest knowledge of space and the universe, as sci-fi is quickly becoming sci-fact. Featuring Gigi Adley from Farscape and Star Trek Continues, David Howard, writer for Galaxy Quest, Leilani Shu, actor from Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon and Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi, James Gagnere, Emmy Award-nominated director and producer, and 2 scientists from NASA, Dr. Morgan Cable and Dr. James Tuttle Keene. So that'll be interesting. You got some NASA folks going there too. And they're finishing off the room from 8 to 10:30. It's the 27th annual San Diego Comic-Con Superhero Kung Fu Extravaganza. Join Sifu Santa, Rick Myers, Action Film Autopsy, Master Remaster, Frank Jang, Fan King Supreme, Preston Downey, that fat samurai guy, and an amazing array of other panelists for the most incredible international fight scenes, stunning sneak peeks, and wonderful world premieres of the year.
So what do we think on this one?
Okay. Well, it holds about 1,000. I think that first panel is going to be the biggest because it's got Dave Bautista. But I guess the question is, do people realize that Dave Bautista is on that panel?
Everybody does now.
Yep.
Everybody does now. I put it in the tweet yesterday. Apparently nobody read the tweet.
So this has Ronda Rousey, one of the biggest wrestlers. It has Dave Bautista, a big wrestler turned big actor who everybody knows from massive movies. Mike Deodato Jr., who's been in the business for something like 30 years, a well-known and loved artist. And Axel Alonso, who used to, I think he was the editor-in-chief at Marvel for a while, and is now the chief creative at this brand new comic company that's been around for 5 or 6 years now at least. And you put all that into one panel, and I mean, like, there's going to be a ton of people showing up. I think there's going to be well over 1,000 people who want into this panel.
100%.
So if you want to get into this, you need to be there earlier than everybody else.
And possibly the next panel too, because it's WWE. Dave Bautista could just as well stick around for that one.
So yeah,
absolutely. I don't think people are leaving like between the first two panels.
Right.
But yeah, if you want to make it into this, I would probably be there maybe an hour beforehand by like 9 a.m. What do you think, James?
I would say getting there an hour beforehand is about the latest I would show up.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because the closer you get, I mean, everybody has seen it. If you get there really early, you can see the way that lines form, and there's just every minute that passes, exponentially more people show up the closer you get. So, when 3 people may be showing up 2 hours before, 300 people are showing up 20 minutes before. So you need to beat all those people. Other than that, I think after the wrestling, the room will just basically completely change over almost entirely for the Malcolm and Friends coming up.
Yeah.
I
Agreed.
think it's a big deal that the lead cast is at the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes panel. Even though that movie didn't do great, there's going to be fans of these actors who will want to show up. So I think that having a chance to see them in a smaller room is going to entice a lot of people there. So that's a panel that I think is going to draw some people. And then I think also there's going to be just like some normal come and go for the rest of the day. I don't think anything else is going to like stack the room.
No,
So I
I
think
agree.
most of the rest of the panels are just going to be, show up before the panel starts and you should be fine.
Yeah.
You might get some people for Anthony LaPaglia or Gigi Edgley, but no, I don't think it's going to be that crowded.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to 6 BCF, which is about double the size at 2,100. Johnny, why don't you kick us off?
Sure, yeah, so 6 BCF holds 2,160 people. We're going to be starting with Avatar, Braving the Elements podcast live. That's from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. This is the award-winning official companion podcast of The Last Airbender. It's called Avatar, Braving the Elements. It'll be hosted by Janet Varney, who is the voice of Korra, as well as Dante Basco, who is the voice of Prince Zuko. So they're going to do a little bit of everything, and they're going to revisit some iconic scenes with special guests. They're going to talk about what's happening right now in the Avatarverse, and they'll also be doing they'll also be putting some superfan trivia skills to the test. That's the first panel of the day. At 11:45 a.m. to 12:45 p.m., we've got Gundam, Requiem for Vengeance, and Silver Phantom preview panel. Here, actor and guest moderator Christopher Sean and Bandai Namco Filmworks will present a sneak peek and behind-the-scenes discussion of the highly anticipated Gundam, Requiem for Vengeance, as well as Gundam Silver Phantom. From 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., you've got Lego Ninjago, Dragons Rising continues. So the Lego Ninjago Dragon Rising's team will discuss the current run of Dragons Rising, the upcoming 15th anniversary of Ninjago, as well as the future of Ninjago. And there you'll have some executive producers, head writers, as well as a couple of voice actors from that show. From 2:15 to 3:15 p.m., we have Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The all-new Paramount Plus original series will explore the adventures of everyone's favorite pizza-loving heroes as they emerge from the sewers and onto the streets of New York City. Join the voices of Leo, Ralph, Donnie, and Mikey, as well as series producers, for an exclusive panel featuring never-before-seen content. And then speaking of wrestling, from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m., we've got AEW's Rise Inside the Ring and Beyond. So that's All Elite Wrestling, which continues to rise from the seeds of a wrestling revolution sown in 2019 to a powerhouse global phenomenon that's now home to some of wrestling's biggest names. So in celebration of their fifth anniversary, AEW stars Swerve Strickland, Timeless Tony Storm, Will Ospreay, Orange Cassidy, Britt Baker, and Darby Allin will take you inside the rooms. From 4:45 to 5:45 p.m., we have Jonathan Frakes unveils Arthur C. Clarke's Venus Prime TV series, which is an upcoming adaptation of the best-selling book franchise from science fiction legend Arthur C. Clarke and author Paul Preuss. The series revolves around an amnesiac woman with biomechanically enhanced abilities who must uncover the truth about her past and her purpose. And so here you hear from the showrunners and those responsible behind the scenes, and that includes Jonathan Frakes, who's serving as a director and executive producer on that show. From 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., we've got Haunted Discoveries, first look into seasons 3 and 4. The cast of Haunted Discoveries teases the stunning, bone-chilling finds from the upcoming seasons. They will discuss paranormal research and the methodologies used to catalog the astounding evidence gathered so far, and exclusive never before seen clips will be shown. And finally, to close out the room, 7:15 p.m. to 8:15 p.m., we've got Worst Cartoons Ever. So making its 19th appearance at Comic-Con, esteemed animation historian Jerry Beck, from cartoonresearch.com and ASIFA Hollywood will once again foist a selection of the most terribly written, ugliest drawn, and unintentionally funniest animated films ever made. And that is 6 BCF for Thursday.
So there's some
All
good
right.
stuff in this room.
There is
Right.
some good stuff, but is there, I think many panels will be very well attended, but is there anything enough to totally fill up the room?
Jonathan Frakes.
Wrestling. There's a chance wrestling will, because it's, as it's mentioned, there's a bunch of the stars of this particular wrestling company. So I think that's a possibility. And yeah, Jonathan Frakes is going to have a bunch of fans showing up. But I think those are the only two things that will either do it or get close.
Yeah. And I'm not even sure if I believe either of those will actually totally fill up the room. I agree again that I think they will be very well attended. I think Avatar will also be very well attended, but is it enough for 2,100 people? I don't know, but we will find out.
Yep.
So if you're worried, I would just show up probably an hour early. Is that what you think, James?
Yeah. Like the Avatar, if you hear people talking about it a lot, then yeah, show up a little extra early. Same thing for the wrestling. If you want into the wrestling, definitely show up, because Turtles is probably going to almost completely clear out. That's going to be, essentially nearly 2,000 seats are going to become available after Turtles, I would say. So yeah, you're going to be fine. And then again, it'll turn over again for Jonathan Frakes. You shouldn't have too much carryover between them. There always will be some, but you won't have a ton. So again, just show up in the panel before the one you want in this room. And if you're worried, just show up at the beginning of the panel before the one you want to get into this room.
Yeah.
All right. Andy, Indigo Ballroom's up next.
All right, let's go to Indigo Ballroom, which seats just a little over 2,660. We'll start at 11:15 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. with the 10th annual Musical Anatomy of a Superhero Along with Heroes. You've got award-winning composers Rob Simonson, who did Deadpool and Wolverine, Christopher Lennertz, who did Gen V and The Boys, Leopold Ross, who did Monarch Legacy of Monsters and Shogun, Michael Abels, Star Wars The Acolyte, and Sherry Chung, who did Found and Gremlins, discuss their scores with clips and conversations moderated by Oscar award-winning composer Michael Giacchino, who did just about everything that you've gone to see recently, including The Batman, Spider-Man Far From Home, etc., etc. Introductions will be by Ray Costa, who is head of Costa Communications, producer, and consultant. All right, and then followed by let's see. First off, something that I actually learned recently: UFOs aren't UFOs anymore. They are now UAPs, which stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon. So, if you've ever seen one of those or witnessed something that's strange, unusual, and you can't explain, you can join the experts from the History Channel's hit series, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, including the current ranch owner, Brandon Fugel, for a panel discussing motivations, inclinations, and secret findings taking place at one of the most infamous UAP and paranormal hotspots to ever exist. Located in Utah's Uinta Basin and often referred to as UFO Alley, Skinwalker Ranch has been the site of decades of study surrounding numerous anomalous events and strange activities that have received worldwide media and government attention, so you know it's good. Next, at 1:45 to 2:45, we have one of our favorites, the Collider's producers on producing. Ever wanted to know what being a Hollywood producer is really like? Curious why key decisions were made on some of your favorite movies? Lorenzo di Bonaventura, producer from Transformers, Deepwater Horizon, and The New Look. Akiva Goldsman, producer from Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, I Am Legend, and Constantine. And Roy Lee, producer from Barbarian, the Lego Movie, and the upcoming Minecraft movie, discussed the craft of producing and I should say, and projects past, present, and future. This is going to be moderated by Collider's editor-in-chief, Stephen Weintraub, and expect some fun surprises. And you heard, I believe, who was it mentioned earlier on one of our earlier episodes that there are going to be some really good surprises in this panel. All right.
I'm not quite sure what you mean by that one, but
anyway.
Yes.
Moving on from 3 to 4, we've got the Groundlings celebrate 50 years of laughs. For the last 5 decades, LA's legendary comic troupe, the Groundlings, has been a beacon of artistry and creativity and served as an incubator for some of Hollywood's most prolific comedic talent, including Pee-wee Herman, countless SNL and Mad TV cast members, and all that kind of guys. So you can hear from the famous alumni, founders, and current members on how some of the most iconic characters have come to life and get a look ahead at the next 50 years. And after that, you can stick around from 4:15 to 5:15. Joyful distractions, play and fandom. The Starlight Children's Foundation and a surprise panelist, love those, explore how storytelling, imaginative play, gaming, and purposeful fandom bring joy and distraction to hospitalized kids. This panel explores how these activities shift focus from their medical conditions to foster a sense of optimism and emotional well-being through engaging in therapeutic play and helping kids heal. And this will be finished off from 5:30 to 6:30 with Unraveling the Time Travel's Paradox. Executive producer and co-star Felicia Day, star Samuel Dunning, and co-star Stimson Sneed will be there with executive producer Ben Yenny and co-star David Babbitt and actor Nicole Murray. They're going to be from the cast and crew of the new independent film Tim Travers and the Time Traveler's Paradox, and they'll chat about filmmaking in the industry and science. And this one's going to be moderated by Doug Jones, who you might remember as Billy from Hocus Pocus or from The Shape of Water, Pan's Labyrinth, and also plays Saru on Star Trek Discovery. And that is it for the Indigo Ballroom.
So what do we think here? I mean, this is a pretty eclectic collection of stuff.
It is. So I actually, before we get into that, I actually want to go back to the Groundlings panel because I feel like we're not giving that enough attention because it does not mention who will be there, but I mean,
there's some really great alumni.
Groundlings alumni includes like some of the biggest names ever in comedy, like Jennifer Coolidge, Will Ferrell, Will Forte, Kathy Griffin, Lisa Kudrow, John Lovitz, like the list, Jimmy Fallon, like the list goes on and on and on. So who the heck knows like who is going to be on that panel? But I am so curious to see who winds up on that.
Yeah, I agree. When I saw that, I thought, yeah, that there's going to be some really good names that they're going to tease but not tell us.
I know. I'm really hoping that we do get like a list of panelists before that panel comes out because I am so curious.
And it's the first time the Groundlings are having a panel that I know of at Comic-Con. So it's just really weird to just, boom, it just shows up.
Yeah. So I'm like, somebody big has to be on that, surely. So
do we think
I don't know. Don't sleep on that.
Is gonna be like so full that you can't make it in if you show up a few minutes before? I mean,
honestly, I don't think you'll have much problem getting into any of these. Yeah, I mean, look, if they announce like the Groundlings cast and it's like an all-star of the biggest comedy legends of all time, like yes, you will probably have a problem getting into that. But if it stays as just like the Groundlings with unannounced cast, like you can walk into that. I think that's fine.
And then the Felicia Day's movie should also be fairly well attended because she has a pretty big following. But since the room holds over 2,500, I'm not sure it's going to be that big of a deal to get in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it will be.
And I don't think it will be either. Like, her name's not in the panel title. A lot of people don't get as deep as we do, and those of you listening do. So they don't know, they don't read the descriptions. So I just don't think, like I said, unless they announce like an all-star cast for that Groundlings panel, I don't think any of these are going to be hard to get into.
Yeah, especially the first
Okay.
two, I think, are pretty niche because you've got music and then UFOs. So yeah, I don't think that it'll be that crowded for the first two.
Yeah, I don't either. Okay, so let's move on to my personal favorite room, Ballroom 20, which holds around 4,800. Things kick off at 10 a.m. with the annual Spec and Mike's Festival of Animation. They do this every year. It's just them showing a whole bunch of little animated shorts. So it's fun. And then at 11:15 is a look at Marvel Rivals, which is the upcoming superhero shooter game. And they will have several of the folks behind the scenes of the games, moderated by Ryan Penagos, who many people who follow Marvel definitely know who that is. And then at 12:30 is Todd McFarlane, who will just be speaking about Todd McFarlane stuff. He'll be covering an update on the Spawn movie, his upcoming comic projects, toys, and more. And then at 1:45 is a look at Peacock's horror thriller series Teacup. So James Wan, I believe, is in attendance, right?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah. So it will be James Wan with stars Yvonne Strahovski, Scott Speedman, and Chosky Spencer for an exclusive sneak peek at the upcoming horror series. So if you like horror, you definitely know who James Wan is. And then at 3 p.m. is Behind the Action of Peacock's Gladiator epic Those About to Die, which has what sounds like a really fun offsite outside. But this will be a look at the series. It's set in Roman times. It's all about chariot racing. Anthony Hopkins will sadly not be here, but we do get some big names. We get producer and director Roland Emmerich, as well as stars like Ewan Rion, Sarah Martins, and more. And then at 4:15, things close out with Star Wars Stories from a Galaxy Far, Far Away, which has a whole bunch of storytellers and voice actors and more throughout the Star Wars world. It's moderated by Patton Oswalt. It's got D. Bradley Baker on it, as well as several other names. So that does it, though, for Ballroom 20 on Thursday. So what do we think?
This is a big room. I mean, it holds almost 5,000. They can cram a lot of people in there. And I mean, I think McFarlane might be able to get close to filling it.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know if he can fill it, but considering it's just a Todd McFarlane panel, where he talks about, like you said, all things McFarlane, I think that he has a big enough fan base, and a lot of people who want to know about things like the new Spawn movie will be there to figure, to find out what's happening.
And
what do you feel?
it's,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, honestly, I feel like that's normally more of like an Indigo Ballroom panel to me. So I feel like if it was an Indigo, it would definitely fill up. I'm a little less certain of Ballroom 20, but I agree that one will be very well attended.
And I'm still don't know about the teacup show, because Yvonne Strahovski, of course, has a big fandom from Chuck when she was on that. And
I would argue that James Wan actually has like a bigger following.
Maybe, yes. But with all of these different people that are there, I think this can get crowded, but I just don't know if it's gonna, either of these, this or the Gladiator show right after that. I just don't know if any of them are gonna pull in 5,000 people. Right?
No, I agree with that. I think both of these are going to be pretty easy to get into, which isn't a bad thing. We like when you can just like walk into the room. That's always fun. So I think this is going to be a pretty easy day to get into Ballroom 20. I think there's going to be a lot of turnover between all these panels. And if you like TV, or if you like Todd McFarlane, I mean, go sit for an hour and watch a fun panel.
Yep. And finally, for Thursday, we're going to cover Hall H, which seats 6,500-ish. And we're kicking off with at 11:45 to 12:45, the Paramount Animation and Hasbro Entertainment Transformers 1. And this will be a panel about the upcoming Transformers animated movie and stars Chris Hemsworth, Brian Tyree Henry, Keegan-Michael Key, along with the director Josh Cooley will all be there to talk about the movie. And it says it's showing exclusive footage, so that's going to be pretty cool. From 1 to 2, we have celebrating 25 years of Nickelodeon SpongeBob SquarePants. And this is, of course, going to feature a plethora of cast members and creatives, including Tom Kenny, Bill Fagerbeck, Carolyn Lawrence, Roger Bumpus, Clancy Brown, Mr. Lawrence, and executive producers Mark Ciccarelli, Vincent Waller, and some other special guests, moderated by Kel Mitchell from Good Burger. And so they're also going to have a live cast table read of Help Wanted, exclusive content, and nautical nonsense. So this is pretty cool for SpongeBob fans. From 2:15 to 3:15, we have Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which is going to feature Walter Scoble, Leah Sava Jeffries, Aryan Samaradi, and Jonathan E. Steinberg and Dan Schatz. They're going to basically go over the first season and discuss what's coming up. And of course, you'll be able to ask questions and stuff during the panel. And then from 3:30 to 4:30, we have What We Do in the Shadows Farewell Tour Kickoff. And this will be cast and producers with no list yet to see a brand new episode from the 6th and final seasons. And basically, it's just what it is. It's basically them coming to celebrate the fact that the show is coming to an end and talk about it. And
we got cast like just before we started this, actually.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, we did. So it's going to be Matt Berry, Kayvon Novak, Mark Prokchuk, I'm sure I mispronounced that, and Kristen Shaw. So that's who's coming to that.
Nice. And then from 6:30 to 7:30, we have the dreaded TBA. And that's not the description of what the panel, like what's in the panel. That's also the description of the panel title is TBA.
Mm-hmm.
So TBA is bringing TBA, which is crazy.
Yep.
So what's filling up this room?
Well, I mean, if anything does, it'll be Transformers. But if you want my honest opinion, I don't think anything like completely fills up this room on Thursday.
No, nothing's getting 7,000 people wanting to come in, so there's a line out there.
I don't think so. Like I said, I mean, look, Chris, I know people love Chris Hemsworth, and maybe he's enough of a draw to get everybody in there, but all the rest of these, like, I just don't think they're going to fill up. I've been to What We Do in the Shadows and Hall H. I love What We Do in the Shadows. It's not going to fill up.
Yeah, I'll just add from my experience on Thursday Hall H 8-9 years ago, they brought the Hunger Games Mockingjay, Jennifer Lawrence, like a peak of her height, and it wasn't filled Thursday. So
I think you're basically going to
be.
be, yeah, I think you're going to be able to walk in all day, which again is not a bad thing.
Yes, exactly. It means you'll be, if you've never been to Hall H and you want to go and you love SpongeBob, here's your chance, because you'll be able to go watch SpongeBob in the big room and on the big screen, because that screen is massive. That's in that room. I think for sure Transformers is going to be a pretty big draw with the cast that they're bringing and the fact that it's Transformers. So that's the only one I would be concerned about. I'm going to try and get there a little bit early, but most likely, yeah, it'll be just a walk-in for the entire day, unless TBA turns into something really awesome. Right?
Yes.
And I just want to add for Transformers, it's not in the panel description, but I think in the press release there is a poster giveaway. So,
Oh yeah, a poster.
That is correct.
so
And
just-
I saw Damien mention something in the chat, which is when there's a lot of turnover in Hall H, be aware that getting people in and out is sometimes a bit of a hassle and sometimes does take a while.
Yeah.
So even though it may be a walk-in, walking in may take you a half hour. So give yourself plenty of time to wait in the line to walk in, even though it won't be much of a line at all. It just takes time. So
Especially if they still have that like security check.
right.
that was also definitely slowing things down. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
give yourself a half
Yeah.
hour, even if it's going to be walk-in, give yourself a half hour to get through the line just in case. And if you show up early, big deal. It means, you get to go find a seat and relax and chill for a minute before the panel starts. Okay, so that is Thursday. And now what we do is we talk about stuff in some other rooms that maybe people may have missed that is either really cool or really weird or we think is awesome. It's a lot of things that
Well-
you can point out, right?
it is. Can we back up though? Because I saw a couple questions in the chat asking just in general, like how do Hall H wristbands work?
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
again, for Thursday, I don't think you're going to need them, but let's talk a little bit about how they work. James, do you want to?
Sure. So what happens is the night before, there will be a next day line. In this case, there may not even be much of a line, but there will be one because there's always somebody who wants a line. And at the time allotted on the website, which I think is like either 7:30 or 8 o'clock, depending on the night, they will start handing out wristbands starting with A, and they will hand out enough wristbands to fill the room from A through D. And that wristband is your ticket into the room, no matter how long the line is, whether you stay in line overnight or whether you go home and sleep in your bed and then come back in the morning before, is it 7:30 still, where you have to be in line before 7:30 or 7 o'clock, whatever it is. There's a time where you need to be in line before to get back in with your wristband. So you don't have to stay in line, but that wristband guarantees you entrance to the first panel of the day. And that's all it's good for, is that first panel of the day. From then on, you can stay in the room, you can leave the room and come back, but you're not guaranteed in anymore from that point on.
And if this is your first Comic-Con, even though we've been talking about it all day, they do not clear rooms. So a lot of other conventions do. They do not clear rooms at Comic-Con. Like you can sit in Hall H all day long if you want.
Right. So if you're worried about the Transformers panel, just show up in the next day line the night before at like 8 o'clock, right when they start handing them out. You may wait in line for a half hour to an hour, depending on how many people actually decided to get in line, and get a wristband, and then just go enjoy your day, because it's not going to be super full unless you want the front of the room. If you just want in the room, just go about, get the wristband, and then enjoy your evening. And don't get there again until the morning, and you're fine. You're good to go.
Yeah, and it is 7:30. Just FYI. Okay, so sorry to derail that. Let's get back to our Dark Horse panel picks, which, as you said, are basically some awesome panels in some smaller rooms. James, do you want to start?
Sure. So I'm known for picking a massive amount, but I only picked one this week for some unknown reason. So my pick is the Human Fly 2024 Flight Path, which will be in the Omni San Diego Hotel Grand Ballroom DE on the 4th floor from 1 to 2 o'clock on Thursday. And this is basically, if you have been around Marvel Comics for a significant amount of time, you will remember there was a Human Fly comic back in the day by Bill Mantlo, Carmine Infantino, Frank Springer, and John Byrne about a real-life superhero. And now it's going to be made into a movie, and it's coming back as a comic. And I just thought it was cool that they're bringing back one of the most esoteric, random things to make a movie and a comic for. So this is going to be Stephen S. Campanelli as the director of the movie in development. And then it's going to feature several writers of the new comics, Tony Babinski, Jim Kruger, Dana Brar, and you're going to get a special look at issue 0 and catch details from Alan Brewer, who's the producer and partner in Human Fly International, about the real Human Fly, who rode on the back of jet planes and jumped 26 buses on a jet cycle. So I think it's awesome.
That's pretty fun. That is pretty fun. Okay, well, I'm just gonna go in order. So my Dark Horse picks, I failed and I have 3, but I'll go fast. Celebrity baker Kim Joy is going to be heading back to the convention. She's been there the last couple years. This year, she will be in room 25 ABC at 11 a.m. along with some other writers to discuss comics, pastries, and their affection for felines. So it's all about like baking and making comics focused on cats, I guess. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what that is about. And then at 11 a.m. in room 32 AB is a spotlight on Liz Climo, who I love her work. She does super adorable little animal comics, but it will be a look back on the 20 plus years of her career. And then we didn't talk about this earlier, or did we? We didn't do 28 DE, did we? No.
This is crazy. This one is, I think, insane.
I think so too. So we are getting a panel again, guys, for Twilight with director
Twilight
Catherine Hardwicke.
Back.
Twilight is back at the con, guys. And it's in a much, much smaller room. It's in 28 DE at 9 p.m. But director Catherine Hardwicke will be on hand to talk about the trials and tribulations of bringing that book to life in a movie. So I don't know. I think that could be a really interesting panel.
I feel like this could be Catherine Hardwicke showing up and just dropping all the things, all the truth, everything about making this movie.
Yeah, like what is the actual biggest headlines going to be out of Comic-Con from Thursday? It will be this panel. So
crazy.
I don't know.
I want to go.
Okay. I'm done. All right. Andy, what's your dark horse pick?
I only picked one dark horse, but I think it's a fun one. It's called Inglorious Trexperts Live: The Cage at 60 and Star Trek's Enduring Legacy. This one's going to be from 4 to 5 in room 5AB. But one of the panelists is Terry Matalas, who was the showrunner for Picard season 3 and 12 Monkeys. They've also got Robert Meyer Burnett, who was on Free Enterprise, Mark Altman, who did the 50-year mission. All these really, great Trekkies are going to sit down and talk about The Cage and Star Trek stuff. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun to go to.
Absolutely. I also think that one sounds really fun. All right, Johnny, what's on your list? I think you have a couple.
I had a bunch. I pared it down to 3. First one's going to be Still Transgender, Still Here, Trans and Non-Binary Comics, Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. That's from 4 to 5 p.m. in room 9, which holds 280 people. This is Prism Comics celebrating the 10th anniversary of the first ever all transgender comic panel at Comic-Con. And so you've got a whole panel of trans creatives. And if you're like me, you always kind of keep an eye on any names that might be familiar to you in smaller, intimate settings. So one of the panelists is Nicole Maines, who some of you might know from Supergirl and Yellow Jackets. I know she's gone on to do some comics for DC as well. So this is a chance to get to see her in a small, more intimate setting. So that's one. Another one sort of on the representation train is Asian American Women Representation in Entertainment. That's from 7 to 8 p.m. in room 25 ABC. It's a look into how Asian American women's roles have evolved in pop culture and mainstream media. So you've got a whole slate of panelists, actresses and writers, Cynthia Gao, Abigail Haig Wen, Ashley Liao, Chelsea Zhang, Janet Shea, Jackie Dallas, and Thea Magia. So the second one and the last one, who says no to this? Trivia for Chocolate, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. in room 32AB. Trivia maven Tom Galloway asks lots of short comic trivia questions. The first audience member to yell out the correct answer gets a small piece of chocolate, and at the end, the person with the most small chocolates gets a really big chocolate, although the size wasn't disclosed. It just says really big chocolate, and runners-up get quality chocolate bars, and of course, everyone gets to keep the small chocolates.
My question is, what if you eat all of your small chocolates before the judging?
That's true.
And you're like, I had 6.
You just show them the wrapper, I guess.
But it was chocolate.
Yeah.
I eat chocolate when I have chocolate.
This is a valid point, James. This is a very valid point.
Oh man. Okay, so that's Thursday. What do we think? What do we think of Thursday? It's got some good stuff, right?
I think so. I mean, especially look, after like last year, I'm like, we have actors, guys. Like, woo!
Right.
I think it's a very solid Thursday. I think it's a very normal Thursday, and that Thursday is never like the stacked kind of panel day. One thing that I will say though is I at least am convinced that there is no Hall H on Sunday this year because they're not doing wristband distribution on Saturday night. So I think that we are getting some of the usual like Sunday panels on Thursday this year. Like What We Do in the Shadows is normally Sunday. This year it's on Thursday. So it is interesting. And that maybe we had a little bit less Hollywood this year to warrant not having Hall H open on Sunday. But I still think it's a solid schedule. Like I'd rather have 3 great days, 3 really good days than 4 days, you know?
Yes. So three quarters of the way back to normal from before, all the way back before COVID is a really good step after all of the trials and the different things that have stopped us from having a normal Comic-Con for the last 5 years.
Yeah. Johnny, what do you think of this schedule for Thursday?
I think I agree with James. Like, this is the first time since this feels like the most pre-COVID panel, right? Like 2 years ago, people still weren't fully back. We had like COVID verification procedures. Last year we had the strikes, and now this feels a lot closer to 2019.
Absolutely. Andy, do you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's almost all the way there, not 100% yet, but yeah, I'd say 3/4 to maybe 85%.
Yep. Well, very good job to the programming department for putting together a really solid Thursday schedule. I'm very excited.
And with that,
all right,
we're going to move on to Friday.
Yeah.
I am going to kick it off in 7AB this time. And again, that room holds 480. And Friday starts early at 10 a.m. That's early for Comic-Con panels. 10 to 11, exploring Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, unveiling the secrets, lore, and more within the Black Spire Outpost. And this features Christine and Martin Smith and Mars Suhardi and Holly Fry from a variety of podcasts to discuss what's new on Batuu and to talk about the food and the locations and the imagery and all kinds of cool stuff. And all attendees will receive an exclusive Black Spire Outpost souvenir. From 11 to 12, we have Lucasfilm high-end Star Wars collectibles. Lucasfilm's Brian Merton invites you to come by and hear what's happening in the world of Star Wars high-end collectibles. You get a look at a bunch of awesome stuff and talk about what makes people want to make them and all those kinds of things. From 12 to 1, we have Star Wars Memories with Craig Miller, Lucasfilm's original director of fan relations. He's going to go through I think he's done this a few other times or similar panels where he talks about the early days of Star Wars fandom. And then from 1 to 2, we have classic Marvel Star Wars comics, the first EU story. This is Richard and Sarah Woloski, and Details will give a spirited breakdown of the first expanded Star Wars universe story that ever happened, which happened to be in the Star Wars comic in the basically right after the movie came out in the late 70s. It was issues 7 to 10 of the series. They're going to show the story and artwork and talk about it and show it up on screen while they talk about what it was like, seeing this with this story. From 2 to 3, we have the Hasbro Star Wars panel. I'm guessing there's a bit of a theme here if you're not catching on.
It's Star Wars Day.
Members of Hasbro Marketing Design will discuss the Black Series line, the Vintage Collection. You'll get a look at the latest action figure offerings, and there may also be a few surprises. From 3 to 4, we have Star Wars Trading Card Collecting with a group of people who talk about the different aspects of collecting vintage to modern cards, everything from master sets to chase cards to offshoots, and the most famous Star Wars card of all, the X-rated C-3PO card. And then from 4 to 5, we will have the 501st Legion Star Wars Villainous Costuming. And that's Legion members talking about, the creative process and making all of these different costumes and bringing the silver screen into reality. They'll discuss membership from initial interest through final approval. And then from 5 to 6, we have Star Wars Trivia Challenge Strikes Back. And this is teams competing in spirited rounds of Star Wars trivia, ranging from movies and TVs to parodies. You don't have to be a trivia expert, and you may even learn some Star Wars fun facts. And of course, there will be prizes and prizes and prizes for those who compete. And then from 6 to 7, we have the Dad Batch podcast, family reunion. And this is the Space Dads from the Dad Batch group of guys. We'll bring everyone from fans and professionals together to share tips, tricks, news, and more about costume and prop making. And then from 7 to 8, we have Law of the Acolyte. And this is another panel organized by the Legal Geeks. And this is basically where they talk about situations in the show this panel is about, in this case, the Acolyte, and talk about how the law may apply to certain things, like what are the use of force concerns in law enforcement? Or is it legal for Jedi to detain someone and question them without informing them of their rights? And then from 8 to 9, we have the Mando Generation, costuming with Mando Mercs. And I think the title describes the whole panel, which is the Mando Mercs Costume Club, talking about making costumes. And that is it for that room for the day. It is all Star Wars all day long.
So because of that, there's not typically a lot of turnover in this room. If you are a massive Star Wars fan, like, you're going to sit there all day.
Yeah.
And that's true every year. And in fact, I've seen a couple of people in the chat saying, like, it seems like this room is too small every year. So if you want to, like, make it into a particular panel for this, like, I don't know, I would probably show up decently early.
Yeah.
So maybe like somewhere 2 panels before the panel you want to get into. Again, I just don't think, I mean, there will be some turnover for sure, but I don't think there's going to be a ton of turnover in this one.
I would be surprised if at any panel half the room left.
Yeah, I would too.
I would say half the room or more is going to stay in every panel. Now, of course, that's not going to be the same people, same half of the room staying all day long, but some people are going to sit through 2 or 3 panels probably.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I think if you want to make it into one of these, go not the panel before, but some point in the panel before that. So 2 panels before. Okay, so let's move on to 6DE, which again has around 884 capacity. Johnny, you want to go?
All right, this is going to be a gauntlet, I think. We're starting at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. GenVid 2024 slate update featuring DC Heroes United. This will be an exclusive reveal of DC Heroes United with Jacob Navik, who's their CEO, and he'll also be presenting an update on Borderlands Echo Vision Live. DC Heroes United is a new interactive streaming series where the fans will determine how Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman work together and handle the challenges they face leading up to the formation of this Earth's Justice League. Excuse me. Next up, from 11:15 a.m. to 12:15 p.m., we've got Hollywood and Comics Collide. So this is a panel that's hosted by comic podcaster and comic book writer Mark Bernardin, and it discusses the world of entertainment from working in Hollywood to working in comics. Some of the panelists on this panel include actor Thomas Jane, he might know the Punisher, the original Punisher, as well as actor and writer David Dastmalchian, the creative Count Crowley, was at Late Night with the Devil last year. He's always around Comic-Con. Actress writer Leah Kilpatrick, Headless Horseman, as well as producer Mark Guggenheim, who was the showrunner on Arrow. So that's Hollywood and Comics Collide, 11:15 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. Next up, from 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., we've got Dark Horse and Josh Gad. This is the writer, bringing faith, folklore, and more into the best of fantasy. So Josh has collaborated with Ben and Max Berkowitz and renowned artist Ariel Olivetti to bring the story of Stan Siegel, a comic book creator whose life takes an unexpected and dark turn when he is plunged into a Nazi occult-fueled nightmare. The people I just mentioned, they'll be joined by a panel of creators to talk about the stories they were raised on, across Islamic, Christian, and Jewish faith that inspire their own comic book storytelling journeys. Next up, 1:45 p.m. to 2:45 p.m., we've got another Jim Lee panel. This is his Jim Lee and Friends panel. Jim will be on hand to bring out a few of his friends for discussions and reveals that will have everyone talking long after the convention is over. After that, we've got from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Marvel Fanfare. So this is with CB Cebulski, who I'm pretty sure hosts every year, but for the first time, he's going to be joined by Kevin Feige. So Marvel Masters collide in an unprecedented meeting of page and screen. Marvel's editor-in-chief, CB Cebulski, and Marvel Studio president Kevin Feige will discuss their mutual love for all things Marvel, along with some special surprise creators. And if that wasn't enough, fans will receive an exclusive giveaway comic following the discussion. And then if you like one Marvel Comics panel, you'll get another one right after from 4:15 to 5:15 p.m. It's Marvel Comics, The Next Big Thing. CB Cebulski will be back again. He'll be joined by Ryan Penagos, aka Agent M, and other Marvel guests for a glimpse into the future of your favorite heroes. Just like the previous panel, attendees will receive an exclusive giveaway comic book. From 5:30 to 6:30 p.m., we've got Women of Wrestling, bringing WoW superhero to life. Co-owners David McClain and Jeannie Buss are joined by 3 WoW superheroes, The Beast, Coach Campanelli, and Candy Crush, to discuss the importance of the rise of female representation in professional sports and pro wrestling. From 6:45 to 7:45 p.m., we've got Mega 64 panel, already removed from streaming for tax purposes. The cast and crew of legendary San Diego web series Mega 64 return to their favorite hometown convention to blow your mind with unseen and unwise video clips, stories, Q&A, and other inexplicable oddities. Oh, so we're still going. From 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., we've got Nacellverse, recreating timeless heroes. So Brian Volkweiss, who's behind Netflix's The Movies That Made Us, and the rest of the Nacelle team will take one lucky member from the audience and turn them into an animated character in the upcoming Biker Mice from Mars animated series. In addition to that, you can join them. They'll be talking about the Nacellverse, which is an interconnected universe that brings RoboForce, Biker Mice from Mars, Wild West COW Boys, and a whole lot of others back to life with new animated shows, toys, comics, and more. And finally, for your late night entertainment from 9:15 p.m. to 10:45 p.m., we've got the screening of Ultraman Blazer, the movie, Tokyo Kaiju Showdown. See the official North American premiere of the live-action Blazer Tokusatsu feature film. This is the excellent English language simuldub. It's hosted by Ultraman Connection and features voice actors from the film and live appearances by Ultraman and other heroes. And that is it. Just a couple things happening in that.
That's it.
That's it. That is all.
Oh my god. Like, this has to be the best programming they've ever had in 60. Like, this is
I don't know. I think they had Muppets in this room at one time.
all right. That's fair. But that Muppets is like one panel. This is like a bunch of amazing stuff. So I mean, I think the big
It starts off, it's like that graph. It starts off and it just starts rising and just like has that peak that goes for a while and then just slowly comes back down again.
Yeah. So this room is 100% going to fill up at several points in the day. I think we all know that. And I think we all know that it will for sure fill up for Kevin Feige.
Yeah, because he's never on a panel. He's the only thing he ever does is the Marvel panel in Hall H as the moderator, presenter, whatever you want to call it. He's doing a panel.
And is like a small intimate room. This is going to be massive. This should not be in a room with 884 people. And then Jim Lee again, I think will definitely fill up. And I think Josh Gad will probably fill up.
Thomas Jane and David Desmalkian.
Yeah. So
what do you want to see in here? And how many more than 5 hours do you plan to wait? Because that's probably about what you're gonna need in some cases.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Look, if I was like dead set on making it into that Kevin Feige panel, like I would probably head here first thing and just like sit through. Again, you're gonna sit through some awesome panels. Like, it's not like you're gonna sit through some terrible panels. But
yeah, exactly. I would be here for Kevin Feige. If I was going to go to see Kevin Feige, I would be in line between 8 and 9 a.m. Honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that. Johnny, I mean, you've been to that panel, not with Kevin Feige, but you've been to that panel. What do you think?
I tend to agree. That's kind of a factor that, I haven't dealt with before. It's always been pretty manageable, those Marvel panels. This is just, and that's before adding on top that Josh Gad and Jim Lee are right before and Thomas Jane and David S. Milligan right before. This is
And then
unbelievable set of panels.
Yeah, Thomas Jane. Let's just go the Thomas Jane Desmalkian into Josh Gad, into Jim Lee, into Kevin Feige / Marvel / giveaway, into Marvel / giveaway, all in a row.
Yeah, this is
And
like
then Women of
insane.
Wrestling, which I'm sure has a whole different group of fans, maybe some of the same. So if you want to see Women of Wrestling, you need to show up a half hour before.
Yes, this room's gonna clear out. Yeah.
I mean, if you think the Women of Wrestling is going to fill the room, then you just need to be one of the first like 600 people in line, because you're going to be able to be in there if you're one of the 800 people that's in line, because I think the room will clear.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it should be fine. I don't think anything's going to fill up after that.
No, I agree. I mean, I think there's some really cool stuff. Like, I think the nacelle stuff is super cool. And I think it's amazing that like they'll like turn you into a character in the series. That's awesome.
The ultimate giveaway, right? The ultimate at a panel.
Absolutely. Ultraman's cool. But I don't think either of those are gonna fill up, especially later in the evening.
They would be crowded for sure. I just, like I said, not necessarily full.
No, I agree.
Someone asked in the chat, let's cover this now, about the giveaways, since they are giving away comics in these. How do you get those compared to other rooms? In the smaller rooms like this, they tend to just give you the thing and like hand it down the row. Since they don't clear the room, they can't hand it to you as you walk out, which is normally how they would handle these things at some conventions. So what they'll do, if it's something that they're going to be handing out to you right then, they will just do that. They will hand it out down the row and say, take one and pass it along. In bigger places where they're doing giveaways, it's usually a ticket. And they would, like in Hall H or Ballroom 20, you will get, instead of the thing, you will get a ticket, and you'll get a ticket strip, and you'll be like, take one and hand it down, and you'll do that. And then you'll go get it at the redemption room over in the Hyatt sometime during the convention. That's basically
how. Remember that even though you get a ticket, you are not guaranteed for that item to still be in stock. They do like run out all the time. So if you really want that giveaway item, I would head over there like that day and don't wait until, Sunday at 4 p.m.
Yeah, because also Sunday at 4 p.m., there is a line down the marina. A long line usually, because everyone's like, oh, I got one last chance. And then they go, and then there's a lot of people doing it.
Yep, totally. Okay, so let's move on to 6A, which holds 1,000. Andy, do you want to kick us off?
All right, let's start off at 10:30 to 11:30 with another Todd McFarlane panel. This is the McFarlane Toys Multiverse. You'll have Todd McFarlane there exploring exciting brands like DC Multiverse, Marvel, Bleach, Spawn, and a lot more. They'll have the McFarlane Toys team there, along with other panelists who will provide an in-depth look at these highly anticipated products. So some surprises there. Plus, there will be giveaways as well that you won't want to miss. That will be followed at 11:45 to 12:45 by Image Comics Enter the Massive Verse. This is going to be Massive Verse superstars Kyle Higgins, Brian Buccellato, Melissa Flores, and Ryan Parrott, and others unveiling new developments in the Massive Verse. It'll be moderated by Ryan Sidoti. After that, from 1 to 2, you've got Me TV Tunes, the new destination for your favorite classic cartoons. A lot of us are sad about Cartoon Network going away, but Me TV is here to just basically pick up the pieces with all kinds of the classic cartoons from Woody Woodpecker, Rocky and Bullwinkle, Speed Racers, Scooby-Doo, Popeye, Bugs Bunny, all that kind of good stuff. It was actually 84. Geez, Bugs Bunny looks great for 84. Doesn't look a day over 20. Okay, bad joke. But yes, the panel is going to be MeTV Vice Chairman Neil Sabin, actors Bob Bergen, Eric Bauza, Jeff Bergman, and Candy Milo, with historian, journalist expert Jerry Beck, and moderator Michael Schneider. They're going to Are you kidding me?
They're going to reset the internet is what they're going to do.
I don't know
Yeah.
what happened there. That
That's
that was
okay.
really weird. Okay, so the internet wants me to move it along, so I'm going to move it along. From 2:15 to 3:15, you've got Gremlins: The Wild Batch, coming off their first season. You're going to have producers Zi Chun and Brendan Hay, Ming-Na Wen, who is the voice of Fong Wing, Isaac Wang, the voice of Sam, AJ Lacascio, the voice of Gizmo, and Gabriel Nevea, who's the voice of L. They'll preview all the Mogwai mayhem in store for this season. After that, 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. is the Legion M panel, Defiant, the Robert Small story. This is basically it's a historic. It was a historic comic graphic novel. Now they're making it into a movie about Robert Smalls, who was a Civil War hero, orchestrating a bold heist by commandeering a Confederate warship to deliver his loved ones to freedom in the North. It'll have screenwriter Rob Edwards, producer Marvin Jones, artist Ray Anthony Height, producer Sebastian A. Jones, producer Chris Cooper, and Dr. Felicia Singleton from the San Diego County Office of Education. They got Philip Bout Jr. Okay, there we go. All right, sorry, caught up now. From 4:45 to 5:45, you get first look at The Tower, starring Bella Thorne, who will be there with Jack Kilmer and Kim, I hope I'm getting this right, Gigondet, director-writer Adam Seigel, and producer Claire Bateman King, who is producer of Chasing Amy. They'll have some more panelists there as well, and it'll be moderated by Legion M's David Baxter. Followed at 6 to 7 p.m. by See You in the Funny Papers with Brian Posehn, comedian, writer, actor, and nerd. He hosts See You in the Funny Papers with creators and new releases, including his own Gromit and Rifters from Image Comics, along with Nathan Hamill and Eric Filipowski. That'll be them and others organized from Iron Management. Later on at 7:15, you've got The Hillywood Show, which has a Q&A and screenings. For all the Hillywood fans, Hilly and Hannah Hindi will hold an epic late-night session and showcase their most popular parodies. You can watch them on the big screen, bring your questions, hear the latest news of what's next for Hillywood, and that should be, they're known for their parodies based on Supernatural, Doctor Who, Good Omens, and more. Followed at the end by the annual 8:30 Dr. Horrible screening and horrible karaoke. You can have some fun and sing along at the annual screening of the fan fave Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. Then wow the audience with your own renditions of the songs from the Dr. H web series. You can sign up for karaoke for individuals and small groups. Be available at the California Browncoats booth before 7 o'clock on Friday and in the screening room just prior to the screening. Space and time are limited, so it's first come, first serve. And that is it for room 6A.
So what do we think as far as room flow? Johnny, do you think any of these are going to fill up?
Excuse me. The first panel with Todd McFarlane's going to fill up, I think, or get close to it.
That's my opinion as well. I think if any of these fill up, I think it's going to be the McFarlane panel, just because it's Todd McFarlane. There's some awesome stuff in here, like that Me TV Tunes has some awesome cartoon talent on it. Gremlins has some really fun folks like Ming-Na Wen. The Tower has some decent, some good names like Bella Thorne. Cam Giganet. I'm with you, Andy. I'm not sure if we're pronouncing that correctly, but I don't know that I see any of these like filling up or being packed. So if you're worried about any of these, I would probably just show up like 30 minutes early, and I think you'll probably be fine.
Yeah, none of these are really thematically similar, so I feel like you're going to get a lot of distinct audiences kind of just coming in from one of them.
Yeah. We have several folks commenting on that House of the Dragons screening. Is that in 6A?
Yes.
6A, yeah.
6A.
Okay. What time is that?
It's I want to say 10:30.
No, I didn't see it.
It was a late
Added.
ad. It was a late ad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it got added like just
afternoon.
before this
Oh, okay.
podcast.
I can read it off if you
Yeah, read it off to us, Johnny, because
Yeah,
I'm
so
struggling here to
just
find
a
it.
bonus
Thank
for
you.
a 6A bonus from 10:30 to 11:45 that got added here today. House of the Dragon season 2 episode 7. It's a special advanced screening of the penultimate episode of the second season, and it's gonna air you, so you get to see it like
2 days.
8 hours,
Early.
48 hours in advance, 36 to 48 hours
Yeah.
in advance, depending on when it drops. So
I will say though, this is so late. I'm like 10:30. That's like
It's gonna be full.
smells. Yeah, it's absolutely going to be full. So that's a good point. That one I think will absolutely be full. So that might mean then that like the Dr. Horrible screening might be a little bit hard to get into because people might start getting there early to get in for that screening. Yeah, I think that's going to be a really big deal. Okay, so I think that does it for 6A. Let's move on to 6BCF, which holds around 2100. Things kick off at 10:15 a.m. with Funko Fusion, which is a look at their upcoming game. And it's got several of the creative team behind it, as well as voiceover artists to discuss the game. And because it's Funko, it says to expect giveaways and surprises, as well as a secret guest panelist who is one of the biggest names in comics. So we don't know what that means, but that is exciting. And then at 11:30 is Game Actors on Game Actors, which is a bunch of actors talking about doing video game character work, whether that's voiceover or motion action. It's got some really fun names. It's got like Sean Astin. It's got Ashley Birch from Mythic Quest, and more, just talking about their field as well as issues with AI and how that's impacting the industry. And it will also, I think this is cool, be recorded for a SAG after podcast. I think that's fun. And then at 12:45 is Revolutionizing Legends, the evolution of iconic online games. And Daybreak Games will be talking about some huge long-running titles such as Lord of the Rings Online, Dungeons and Dragons Online, EverQuest, and more. And then at 2 p.m. is Mortal Kombat 1 More Combat, which will have NetherRealm Studios and the co-creator of Mortal Kombat talking with some of the actors from the series about the new game and more. And then at 3:15 p.m. is the one I'm excited for, is Dragon Age. BioWare has not been to Comic-Con in many years, but they are back this year with Dragon Age Veilguard, which is coming out soon, for real this time. And they will have some of the creative team behind that, as well as some of the voice cast to give a look into the new game. At 4:30 p.m. is Lego Masters Back Behind the Brick, which if you enjoy the building competition show, they will have a bunch of the folks from that to give a look at the upcoming Lego Masters Holiday Celebrity Bricktacular. It will again include some of their master builders and some folks behind the show. And then at 5:45 p.m. is Get Wrecked with Straw Hat Goofy Live. And I'm not familiar with this person because I'm old, but maybe some of you guys know. There is your movie guy, Juju Green, aka Straw Hat Goofy, who will hold a live taping of his podcast, Get Wrecked. And it promises that you can join him with celebrities and film fans about the movies. And then at 7 p.m. is Tales of DJs and Eraserheads in the Lumpia Deep Fried Universe. So if you've enjoyed any of the Kid Heroes Productions, Lumpia with a Vengeance screenings or other things that they've done, this is going to be all about their comics. So they've got a new comic coming out called The Ones and Twos, which is about like the DJ scene in the 1990s. And then they've also got a current issue of the legendary Lumpia Squad. So they'll be talking about all of that. And then at 8:15 p.m. is Harley Quinn and Kite Man, Hell Yeah, which that is the Max animated series featuring sneak peeks and a look behind. And we do have the cast. Sorry, I pulled this up before.
I think it's hilarious that they put in the panel description that seats will be limited and available on a first come, first served basis.
I know.
Which is like,
hey, don't knock Harley Quinn. Okay, it's a great show. But the panelists include Lake. Like... I know. But the panelists include Lake Bell, Matt Oberg, James Adamon, Dean Laurie, and then some of the EPs. So should be fun. I actually love the Harley Quinn show. I have been a little busy running Comic-Con, so I don't. Not Comic-Con, but this vlog. So I don't even know if Kite Man's out yet, but it's a good show.
Well, it says sneak peeks, so I'm guessing it
might not be
out till after Comic-Con, maybe.
There you go. Know. Yeah.
Okay, so what's up with this room? What's going on here? Anything gonna fill it? Anything gonna make it?
I think Funko will be very well attended, especially because it talks about like giveaways and special guests and all the usual Funko hype terms. I think that will definitely be very well attended. I think Dragon Age will be well attended because those of us who love Dragon Age have been waiting for what feels like for literally ever for this game to come out, but I don't know that I think it'll fill the room. And again, I think like Harley Quinn will be decently attended, but I don't know that I think it'll fill the room.
And I think Lego does get a decent amount of fans for their panels.
Yeah, they definitely do.
So that one might be one that'd be a little difficult to get into.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is again a room that seats 2,000. So will it be full? Maybe, maybe not. So if you're worried about Lego or any of those, get there sometime in the panel before. The earlier you get in the panel before, the safer you'll be.
Yeah.
And then just keep an eye out for Dragon Masters and Lego to see if maybe you see on social on Twitter and stuff that people are talking about it and what the line's like, and see if you maybe need to get there a little earlier. And that's about it.
You mean Dragon Age, or do you mean Lego Masters? Those are two things.
Those things.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna move on to Indigo now, which seats over 2,600. It starts at 11 a.m. From 11 to 11:45 with Adult Swim's Common Side Effects First Look. And this is from Mike Judge and Greg Daniels, which you probably recognize them as producing a lot of cool stuff you've seen over the years. And creators Joe Bennett and Steve Helly about this comedic thriller. And they're going to talk about that new show. And then from 12 to 12:45, we have Adult Swim's Rick and Morty, the anime First Look, which again is pretty much exactly what they're going to do there. It's writer-director Takashi Sano and some producers, and Adult Swim's head of action and anime will all be there to share details about the upcoming show. From 1 to 1:45, we have Adapting Fan Favorites, a conversation with Prime Video's adult animation creators. And this features some names that you may have heard of, like Robert Kirkman, as well as Vivian Madrano and Travis Willingham. And they're talking about bringing some of the most popular comic books and adapting them into films and series and other things. And they're going to share some news about their respective series. From 2 to 2:45, we have Solar Opposites returning to Comic-Con with executive producer Mike McMahon and Josh Beisel, and cast members Thomas Middleditch, Mary Mack, and Sean Gimbrone. They're going to screen a never-before-seen episode and talk about the show. And then from 3 to 3:45, we have The Great North, which will give an exclusive look behind the scenes. And also there will be creators and executive producers Wendy Molyneux, Lizzie Molyneux-Logelin, and Lauren Bouchard, and the voices, including Dulce Sloan, Paul Rust, and Aparna Nancherla. And then from 4 to 4:45, we have Bob's Burgers with the usual cast of characters, including executive producers Lauren Bouchard, Nora Smith, Holly Schlesinger, Supervising Director Bernard Derriman, and cast members H. John Benjamin, John Roberts, Kristen Shaw, Eugene Merman, Dan Mintz, and Larry Murphy, talking all about the show. And then the room shuts down for a few hours to prepare. And then at 8 p.m., we have from 8 to 10:30, the 36th Annual Will Eisner Comic Industry Awards. And this is hosted by Phil Lamar and Thomas Lennon. And this is basically the Oscars of the comic industry. And there will be a ton of presenters, including Patton Oswalt and Keon Young and Gigi Edgley, and just a ton of people awarding the Eisners to all of the winners for this year. And that is it for the Indigo Ballroom.
So what do we think?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think this is, with all the like adult oriented cartoons, I think this is something where like if you want to go to Bob's Burgers, you're probably gonna be parked there pretty much all day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's exactly it. Bob's Burgers is always packed. And so if you want to make it into that panel, honestly, I would probably personally show up like 3 to 4 hours early. I have absolutely heard of people waiting very long times for that panel and not making it in. Because it's Bob's Burgers.
Honestly, you might as well just show up for the first panel and go from there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Rick and Morty, even though it's not the Rick and Morty, it's the anime, it's still going to get a lot of people in. So it'll be pretty crowded. And then Robert Kirkman's going to have a bunch of people wanting to see him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean.
Well, Hazbin Hotel is actually like huge. And yeah. So,
I mean, yeah, there's going to be plenty of people wanting into this room. Now, there may be some turnover. But if you are worried about Bob's Burgers, people are going to start filtering in hours early for that and just sit through panels. So you might as well do the same and beat them in there. So get there a little bit early. And then after Bob's Burgers is the Eisners. So, I mean, it's a completely separate, it's a reset. The room closes down, so you can't hang out for that. And I would say if you want to go to the Eisners, I think that it gets pretty crowded. I've actually never been, and I should go one of these years, but it's got a lot of cool people, and it's basically if you ever want to go see a comics awards show, then head on over.
Yep. No, I agree with that.
All right. And then next up, we have Ballroom 20. And Andy, that's yours.
All righty. Once again, Ballroom 20 seats about 4,800. And it will start off on Friday at 10 a.m. with the 24th annual animation show of shows. Basically, it is animated shorts for anyone between 2 to 99 plus years old. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and it's a great panel full of really great animated shorts that are presented for our enjoyment. It will be moderated by Ron Diamond and special guest Malcolm Sutherland, Canadian director. After that, at 11:15, you've got the Snowpiercer. Yes, that show is still on. Snowpiercer exclusive advanced screening. You're going to get an exclusive screening of season 4, episode 2, The Sting of Survival, and stars David Diggs, Mickey Sumner, and Mike O'Malley will join executive producers Paul, going to try this one, Zibzewski, and Christoph Schrew to tease the season's series 4th and final season. So yes, it's still on, but this will be the last season, and that'll be moderated by Damian Holbrook. After that is one of my, actually, this is going to be all my favorite panels. 12:45 to 1:45, you got Entertainment Weekly's Brave Warriors. That is when Entertainment Weekly gets a smorgasbord of popular male hero characters and get them together on a panel, and they just sit and have a conversation. And there are some really great moments that come out of this. I know I've seen some great ones in the past. Followed at 2 to 3 with Collider Ladies Night Live with Perry Nemiroff. Collider Ladies Night puts the spotlight on the need to know female voices in Hollywood through an entertaining and in-depth conversation. Again, another smorgasbord of talent that will be with Perry Nemiroff, who is the senior producer of Collider. Let's see. Oh, they do have some names here. A couple of names: Melissa Barrera from Your Monsters, Scream, and Abigail, and Katie O'Brien from Twisters and The Mandalorian and Mission Impossible 8. There are a couple of names, but there will be a lot more there. That's going to be followed by 3:15 to 4:15. TV Guide Magazine's Fan Favorites 2024. This is another smorgasbord of talent coming together, this time for TV Guide. They're just going to sit and they're going to hang and chat about different things. This is always a fun panel to go to. A lot of fun, sometimes inappropriate, but still great to see him go.
And the only cast member that I think we know is confirmed for that actually is Hallmark Channel star Jonathan Bennett, which I think is kind of funny.
Hey, don't knock the Hallmark Channel. They have good stuff. Come on, every Christmas we're all watching. We know it. That'll be followed 4:30 to 5:30 by Trailer Park. Basically exactly what it is. You're going to see some trailers for let's see here. Discover upcoming hidden gems and maybe even catch some brand new material. So yeah, you're going to get a lot of great trailers there. After that, 5:45 to 6:45 is Dexter Original Sin. You got the cast, creator, and executive producers discussing the upcoming prequel to the fan favorite series Dexter. After that, from 7 to 11, you've got The Dragon Prince. It's going to be the full season 6 screening. So you'll chill for 4 hours and watch the entire season 6 of The Dragon Prince on its global release day. So it's going to drop and you'll be able to see it. Just for one amazing night, Ballroom 20 will become the global headquarters of a worldwide #TDP watch party with the creators, cast, and crew from the series, along with some surprise live events. And they say it is strictly BYOT, which is bring your own tissues. So I guess it's going to be an emotional one. And that is it for Ballroom 20 on Friday.
This feels like another room that's going to take off slow and then hit some big highs, and then Trailer Park's going to tank it.
Yeah, I mean, fan favorites always has high potential, but as always, it depends on who's on the panel. So right now, like I said, we only know one panel participant, so the popularity really just depends on who else is in there. Other than that, I mean, I think the biggest panel in here is definitely the Collider Ladies Night. Melissa Barrera is huge. Katie O'Brien has been in some awesome stuff, including Love Lies Bleeding, which we did mention. And so like horror fans, I think will definitely show out for this one.
Yeah, from Snowpiercer through TV Guide, I think that the room will probably be close to full or full for all of those things. So, I mean, do we need to get here early for anything?
If I wanted to get into Collider, I would probably show up like 30, 40 minutes early. But beyond that, again, I think the wild card is fan favorites. I mean, if they put
and Brave New
huge
Warriors
names on
too.
that.
Depends on who they get for that.
Yeah, and Brave New Warriors. But I don't know. I always feel like fan favorites is always like way more attended than Brave New Warriors.
And do you think Dexter won't be a problem to get into, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So based on what you guys are saying, since
sorry, Dexter.
Yeah, the Collider Ladies Night. If you want a time to get there, just show up and watch the full Entertainment Weekly panel. just be there for that and sit through it so you make sure you're in the room and you don't have to deal with anything. And that way you see a whole panel and then you don't come in halfway through and, whatever. And then I don't know what the Dragon Prince screening is going to be like. It feels like something that a lot of people will show up to, but will it be full?
I think it might be, because they're doing something really cool this year, which is that like they're giving away a pen. Like that's pretty good swag.
Okay. All right. So if you want to get into that, I mean, go grab some food and come back and enjoy your stay for 4 hours in Ballroom 20.
You know what? Let me apologize. Excuse me. I'm going to apologize to Dexter. And I don't think this was in the official panel description, but I think they did announce that Sarah Michelle Gellar was going to be moderating that panel.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All
I
you
remember
Buffy
that
fans,
now.
you Buffy fans out there.
That will get people there.
That could
Yeah.
get
Well,
So,
it
I just wanted to
depends
throw
on
that in
like
there.
if they advertise that. Yeah.
Well,
That's
everybody watching
always
this podcast knows now.
Yes, everybody watching this podcast knows. But as always, the average person, guys, does not read the panel descriptions.
Yeah. And it's
So-
not there. It's not in the panel description. I
Yeah,
think
it was in
Yeah,
the
it's
press
not.
release from
So,
it was in the press release from Showtime or whoever, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
so,
There you go.
but if word spreads, who
Yeah.
knows?
So there you go. Okay.
throw
But those
wanted to
mashup
throw that in
panels are
there.
usually fun.
All right. Well, Johnny, let's do our last room of this
All right.
podcast.
Okay, Hall H, as we all know, that seats 6,500. We will start at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for Let's Hear It for Prime Video's The Boys. Showrunner and executive producer Eric Kripke joins the series stars for a postseason finale celebration. I think basically they just announced it either today or yesterday. Pretty much everyone's going to be there except for Carl Urban in terms of the cast. So Jack Quaid, Anthony Starr, Jesse Usher, Laz Alonso, Chase Crawford. There's like 12 or 13 names. I can't really count right now, but they're, again, except for Carl Urban, they will all be there. So following after that, that's going to be a back-to-back Amazon Prime situation. We've got The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Season 2. Return to Middle-earth with the series showrunners and cast. So the showrunners are going to be there, J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay. I don't think officially have announced the cast yet, but I think we can probably expect several of those to show up as well. And they will be giving
Ismael Cruz Cordova did confirm on Instagram that he will at least be there.
So that's at least
one.
But we're still waiting on sort of like the official press release announcement.
Yes.
Premieres on August 29th on Prime Video. From 12:30 to 1:30 p.m., we switch from Middle Earth Amazon Prime to Disney Plus and BBC with Into the Whoniverse, a Doctor Who panel. So hop aboard the TARDIS with Doctor Who stars Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson, along with showrunner and writer Russell T Davies, as they discuss the latest season and its game-changing finale episode, which aired on Disney Plus and BBC iPlayer. The trio will share behind-the-scenes stories, fan surprises, and a special sneak peek. And this is going to be moderated by Josh Horowitz, who is the host of the Happy, Sad, and Confused podcast. Next up, we've got a Walking Dead block with starting off at 1:45 and 2:45 p.m. with The Walking Dead, Dead City Season 2. This is moderated by Chris Hardwick, because he always moderates these things. Confirmed panelists include showrunner and executive producer Eli Jornet, Chief Content Officer of The Walking Dead, Scott M. Gimple, along with cast members Lauren Cohan, who plays Maggie, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays Negan, Gaius Charles, who plays Armstrong, and Zelshko Ivanek, who is the Croat. And then, without a break, no gap here, we go right into, at 2:45 p.m., 3:45 p.m., it's The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol. So many subtitles. And once again, it's moderated by one Chris Hardwick. And the confirmed panelists on this panel include David Zabel, against Scott M. Gimple, Greg Nicotero, Norman Reedus, who of course is Daryl Dixon, Melissa McBride, who plays Carol, and Louis. Oh, I'm gonna butcher this. Sorry, Louis. Sorry, might even be Louis. Louis Pech Skigluzzi. There's no chance that was right. I'm so sorry, but we're gonna press on. But they'll be there. So that's your Walking Dead 2-hour block. Next up, from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., we've got Colliders, Collider's directors on directing. So this is the White House attack directors panel. So this is moderated by Steven Weintraub, Frosty, who you might know as Frosty. So this is Anton Fuqua, who's done the Equalizer trilogy, Training Day, and Olympus Has Fallen, along with Roland Emmerich, who is the Master of Disaster, and also is doing Those About to Die over on Peacock. He's also done Independence Day, as well as White House Down. The two of them are going to talk about their work, past, present, and future, the challenges of production, and of course, their dueling White House invasion movies. Next up, to cap off the night, it looks like, from 5:15 to 6:15 p.m., we've got 20th Century Studios coming with Alien Romulus. Director Fede Alvarez and cast Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, Archie Reynaud, Isabella Merced, Spike Fern, and Eileen Wu will discuss the terrifying next installment from the iconic and beloved Alien franchise. And that is your Hall H Friday lineup.
Some big stuff.
Yeah, some very big stuff. So what do we think?
I would think that if all of you Walking Dead people can just hold off and let all of the Who people in to watch the Who panel, we will vacate the premises so you can enjoy the Walking Dead.
Yep. We will get on out of there.
So if you could all just do that, please, we would really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not. It's not. So
this is a crazy day, honestly.
yeah.
The Boys is going to fill the room.
Yeah.
Right? Doctor Who's going to fill the room. On their own.
Lord of the Rings is going to fill the room on its own.
Walking Dead will fill the room. All of these will fill the room on their own, and they're all on the same day. This is basically like this year's TV Saturday, essentially, for Hall H. So, I mean, honestly, go get a wristband is what I'm saying, basically, if you want to see something. Sorry. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, unless you want to see the directors. I don't know if you need a wristband to see the directors.
Well, yeah, it may clear out, but Alien's out right after that, and
True.
Alien's huge, so people will just sit through and wait. This is the kind of a day where people will just sit all day. There's enough stuff. Just again,
I agree to an extent, but I also kind of agree with Johnny. I think that like after Who, I think a decent amount of people like will clear out.
If enough Who people can make it into the room, it's gonna clear out pretty significantly for Walking Dead.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Walking Dead's draw is now these days compared to 6-7 years ago. I could be wrong, but
no, I'm with you. I mean, of their shows, I think Daryl Dixon is definitely like the biggest. But I'm with you. Like, I don't know that if you wanted to see like something after Walking the Dead, like I would not worry. I don't even think Alien Romulus will be like that crazy hard to get into. But I think pretty much everything from Walking Dead beforehand, yeah, like you might be sleeping on the sidewalk.
Well, I mean, not sleeping on the sidewalk. I mean, if you get a wristband, you're good to go. So you don't have to sleep on the sidewalk.
No, you don't. You
don't
don't
have to. I mean, you're going to want to, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Does anybody really want to?
No. I mean, kind of. I mean, it is a badge of honor, honestly, that I did sleep on the sidewalk for Comic-Con 1 year, and then you can carry that around for the rest of your life and hold it over all of your other geek friends, So
1 year, that's nothing, dude.
I know, right? Try once a year. I don't know. And so do you think that like after Walking Dead, that if you want to see Alien, you just need to make sure you're in line, get in line during the director's panel, and you should be good to go?
That's my personal opinion. I mean, I think it's going to be a cool panel. But I don't really feel like it's got like giant names on it.
Yeah. So wristbands will start getting handed out at 7:30 on Thursday night. I mean, I don't know what the cutoff time is for getting a wristband in this situation. So I really can't make a call on when to get in line. If you're worried, make sure you're in line before 7:30. But I don't know how much before.
This is definitely one of those situations where what you should really do is keep an eye on social media, because like there's plenty of Hall H accounts, the Blinky Blinks. There's tons of different, the Blinky Blinks. There's tons of different Twitter accounts that post updates on the line. So I would just keep an eye on that to kind of monitor the situation and see like, oh, it's not nearly as bad as like the blog made it sound to be, or oh, it's so much worse. So just play it by ear, keep an eye on social, and be ready to shift plans.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy day. And the fact that there's such a variety of things and things that people will, there's not something at the end of the day that's going to hold people all day. The room will change over a definite, not small amount throughout the day. So there will be changeover. There will be room to come and go. It's just a matter of how much, and I think it's all front loaded early.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, you got to fight for your place in line there.
Yeah.
So a couple questions. We want to answer some questions.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that.
Carrie, what time should people get in line if they want front row Ballroom 20 on Friday? Since that's what you always go for.
It is. So here's the thing. We don't answer these kind of questions. And honestly, like, I don't think anyone should. So as Johnny is fond of saying in our chat, anytime that you publicly discuss a lineup time, especially if it's on like social media or any place that's anyone other than your like the person you are speaking with can see, other people are probably watching, and what they're going to do is they're going to go, oh, that person's going to line up at XYZ time. Why don't I just go an hour before that? And it's just this like cascading thing that just makes everybody line up earlier and earlier. So my suggestion is never discuss like lineup times. If again, what you're trying for is to get it in the front in a public setting.
There you go.
We do not answer those kind of questions. And again, my suggestion is don't do it on social or Discord or anywhere.
Text the person you're planning.
Yeah. Text, email, all those things still work. Phone call, all those things still work.
Yeah. So any other questions we want to answer?
Kevin asked, where do you line up for the wristbands? So we did cover this earlier in the podcast, but just if you missed that, we do have a guide on our site called Where Do I Line Up For? ? And it literally goes into where you could line up for Hall H wristbands, where you line up if you want to go to Ballroom 20, or for
autographs,
signings,
sales, everything.
Yeah, everything. So go look at that. I'll post it again after we get off this podcast.
There you go. How busy? Okay, Choom asks, how busy are the offsite events? Well, we're not doing offsites in this one, but offsites are busy based on what it is, and they're usually very busy.
Yeah.
The easy answers are usually pretty busy.
Yeah. As always, it depends on what the offsite is, what the capacity of the throughput of the offsite is. Like a lot of things depend, but yeah, like most offsites are not going to be a walk-in.
And as far as Marvel Studios, because I have seen some questions about that, Marvel Studios has not been officially announced as a panel at Comic-Con. It has only been sort of confirmed by places like The Wrap or Deadline or somewhere like that. It is not technically official, and until it is, it's not. So we will find out tomorrow, unless random person in marketing decides that 10 p.m. on a Friday night is the perfect time to drop the official news that Marvel is having a panel at Comic-Con, which has happened.
You keep saying, has it?
Yes.
At 10 p.m.?
Yes.
Do I just have like PTSD?
It was some announcement that Marvel was coming. It was late at night, like 9 or 10 o'clock at night on like a Tuesday or something like that, like 5 or 6 years ago. I remember late night something happening and being like, this is so random.
Clearly, I have blocked that from my memory, but I believe you.
But yes, so we'll find out tomorrow if there and when there will be a Marvel panel, which we are expecting there to be one.
Yep. Okay, so I think that about does it.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, since the question was asked about Alien, just remember that the wristbands are only good for the first panel of the day. You do not, if you have a wristband, they don't matter for anything except for getting in first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Totally agree.
All right. And any other questions about
Totally agree.
anything in like Hall H, Ballroom 20, or any of the rooms we covered? Hit rewind or re-listen to this, and we will likely have answered it earlier if you missed some of it earlier. So anything about Thursday, hit the rewind button and go back and listen to us because we talked a lot about Thursday.
I will say, I know we just talked about Marvelous and official, but I mean, come on, Kevin Feige's on a panel on Friday. Like, that's a decent sign.
I know, but we can't say it's official until it's official.
No, it's not official. I agree, but come on. All right. I think that's it.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So again, let's make sure everybody knows we will be back Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific.
Wait, we still have our Dark Horse panels.
Our Dark Horse. We forgot all about our Dark Horse panels. Look at that.
That's why they're Dark Horses.
That's right.
Let's forget about them.
Carrie, you go first.
Okay. First on my list is I love visiting locations where movies and TV shows were shot, and there is a Hollywood location scout panel at 1 p.m. in room 9, which has some location scouts from things like Shadowhunters, Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny, Joker, Westworld, Loki Season 2, The Last of Us, Top Gun Maverick, Star Wars The Book of Boba Fett, and more, just kind of talking about scouting locations. So I think that's pretty cool. And then my other one is Ahoy Comics has a panel at 5 p.m. in room 28DE, where they will be talking about their new Toxic Avenger comic. And it also has Lloyd Kaufman, who is the director of Troma.
You stole my Dark Horse. Well, one of them. I was going to do Ahoy Comics as well because we had some of them on our podcast.
We did. And they're very nice people. Yep. So you should go to that panel.
Who's next? Let's say, because it's right there on the list, Andy's next.
All right. I half the reason I made this as a Dark Horse is so I could do this. Where's my super suit? My Dark Horse is Super Suits from Concept to Reality, which is from 1 to 2 in Grand 10 and 11 at the Marriott Marquis. Team LJ Super Suits is pulling back the curtain for an exclusive look into the process of designing and building iconic specialty costumes for TV shows and films that include The Boys, Gen V, Black Lightning, Titans, Doom Patrol, Stargirl, Superman and Lois, Red One, Murderbot, and more. It's going to feature LJ Shannon, Sarah Jane McGinney, Gina DiComenico, I can say that one, Andrew Clement, Jesse Ray, and Shannon Short. And it also is going to be moderated by Doug Jones. We also talked about him for Thursday, but he's going to be moderating this one as well. I'm a fan, love Star Trek Discovery, and it's not going to be there. So that's why I like Doug Jones. And that's all I got to say about that.
All right, Johnny, why don't you do yours?
All right. I got 3 again. First up, spotlight on Bill Amend, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. in room 9, creator of the Foxtrot comic, which was one of my go-tos back in the day with the newspapers and the daily strips. Foxtrot was one of them. So he'll be looking back at his 36-year career of injecting pop culture nods and geekiness into America's newspaper funny pages. Second one's going to be from Prime Video, Like a Dragon Yakuza, the series lead member, 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. in room 5AB. Series lead member Ryoma Takeuchi, producers, a surprise A-list star from the cast. I looked on IMDb, I got no hints, I don't think they've announced it yet. And a Sega producer will share an exclusive first look and delve into the creation of this series based on Sega's iconic second best-selling game. And then thirdly, again, for someone of my generation, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Across the Morphin Grid, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. in room 5AB. After 8 years and over 120 issues, Boom Studios' Power Rangers universe is coming to an end, but not without a few final surprises. And among the panelists on this are the original Pink Ranger, Amy Jo Johnson, and the original Black Ranger, Walter Jones. So those are my 3. Oh, good.
I say make sure that there's a couple of seats of room in there because I want to make sure Beth can see that panel.
All right.
Okay, mine. So I had three, but now I have two because Carrie stole one.
Label your panels instead of just tossing it a link.
That's fine. Now I have to look cool. I only have two. So my first one is Jokes and Jump Scares, a conversation with Diablo Cody in room 32 AB from 10 to 11 a.m. And this is another one where I feel like there's going to be some really awesome stuff being dished and talked about. Diablo Cody has done stuff like Jennifer's Body, Lisa Frankenstein, and a new project in this genre based on a hit webtoon webcomic. So it's a conversation between Diablo Cody and variety film reporter Katsy Stefan. And I think it'd be pretty cool. And then my second one is so there's been a proliferation over the last few years of music and composers and costumers panels and all this kind of stuff. And now we have the set, the other cast member in room 9 from 2 to 3 o'clock. And this is all from the Set Decorator Society of America. And it's going to be Rosemary Brandenburg from Guardians of the Galaxy, Regina Graves from Fallout, Claudia Bonfay from Loki and Rebel Moon, and Shauna Aronson from season 3 of Star Trek Picard, discussing how set decoration can elevate a set from just a setting into a powerful force in the story. And I think it's cool that like basically we're getting the entirety of the behind the scenes production of movies and TV coming and talking about their craft at a Comic-Con every year now. That's it.
I think that's neat about the set because you mentioned Star Trek Picard, and spoiler alert, sorry if you haven't seen season 3, but they completely recreated the Enterprise D bridge. So for that set team to go through that much detail and get that much stuff right, because you know we're looking. I mean, we're scrutinizing every inch of that set.
Didn't they just have to use the holodeck?
No. No, that would be nice though. That'd be great.
All right. So what do we got? Well, let's do some roundup here. Anything we need to talk about before we go? Oh, the next one. So as I was mentioning, Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific, part 2, covering Saturday and Sunday schedule. We will be here and we'll talk about it.
Isn't it 6:30?
It's 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
6 p.m. Pacific.
Okay.
I suppose I could have made it the same time for all of them, but let's just be a little different on Sunday. It's usually like at 3 o'clock, but I wouldn't be able to make that, so we did it later.
Fair enough.
And then, as you mentioned, the final podcast for the season before Comic-Con will be on Tuesday at 6:30. And I think you have some other things you may want to mention before we get into the closing bits.
Yeah, so we have been doing Attendee of the Week. We will probably do one last one next week for the season. So if you've not submitted yet, make sure you do that now. If you appreciate the work that we do also have a Patreon. All of the money goes right back into the site. It goes into giveaways for you guys. It goes into our hosting. We try to do as much as we possibly can for you guys. And we have some really fun giveaway items this year. In addition to Prize Mule, which we have some freaking amazing sponsors this year. I haven't even announced these, I don't think. But we recently just added Mattel is going to be giving us this year's exclusives to give away. Mutant, which is the folks who were formerly at Mondo, their division. We're getting an item from them. Neopets. So there's a whole bunch of really awesome stuff that I don't even think we've announced yet. But you can follow along with that with us on Twitter during the convention to win those prizes. And we've also got stuff that we've made ourselves. We've got buttons, cups of water. We'll be back. So we do this every year on Sunday, and they're bigger. I haven't even seen the new cups, but they're bigger. But we do this stupid thing where on usually Sunday in front of the Omni, James and I hand out cups of water, it's exactly what it sounds like.
I know.
Yep.
We have the awesomest freebies.
The best. And then I truly hope that you all join me in making friendship bracelets, and not just join me, but join Doctor Who and Star Trek, who are also making friendship bracelets. Right.
I think they
It's
stole the
very-
idea.
I'm pretty sure we stole it from the Swifties. Very sure. But you should make friendship bracelets. And beyond that, like we have tons of roundups if you have questions on things. Johnny is the one who puts together the amazing autograph list. That honestly might be the most useful thing that we get told that we do. So good job, Johnny. Andy puts together the awesome commission list. So even now, there are artists who still have pre-commission spots open. So if you want original art for the convention, make sure you go read through that. And then I did put together the panel list, but now that we have some of the panels, that's gone. So go check out our site. Again, we have tons of resources that hopefully you find helpful.
All right. So thank you all for tuning in and listening to this. And in closing, Andy, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
My Comic-Con coverage is on Instagram and Twitter at SDCC Wacky Wags. And my cannabis coverage is on Instagram and Twitter at SDCannablogger. Carrie, aside from SD_comic_con, where can we find you on the internet these days?
You can find me every once in a blue moon on my own Twitter at Carrie Dixon, but mostly you can find me on the blog Twitter. And real quick, Committed Comics brought up that series 2 of our trading cards for our prize mules will be back. So you can find more information about that very soon, and make sure you're following Committed Comics on Twitter. James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
First, Johnny, you go. Where can we
All
find
right.
you on the
Sorry.
I don't really have a lot of work on the internet outside the blog, but if you want to follow me on Twitter, I just basically retweet the blog. I'm at Johnny with 2 N's. So just type that out with no spaces and you'll find me there. And finally, James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am everywhere at Dan Regal, and I'm also on a podcast called The Citizens of Lorcana, covering the Disney Lorcana trading card game. And this week we just had the co-designer of the game on, which was really cool. And thank you to Beth, our producer, for editing the show and doing the things that get this podcast into your ears.
We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up in the blog, or you can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We are also on Stitcher Radio and Spotify, and the links are in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at info@sdccblog.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening, and everybody, go Shawarma.
Shawarma.
Warma.
Nice.
Giggity.